We actually are nearing the end of the conference, and our last session of the day is the VP of the Power Platform, Charles Lamanna, who's going to talk to us about why we're even having this event. Like, why is it important for us to have this event now? What's on the roadmap for Power Platform coming up for the next year? And what exactly should you be doing to build up these Fusion dev teams in your business? Charles, are you with us?
I think so.
There you are.
No.
We can hear you. We can hear you. So thank you so much for joining us. We somehow finished on time, so Charles was able to abandon his meeting and join us instead, which is exactly the right thing to do. And we really appreciate that. So I know when you saw the agenda, you were pretty excited about all of the really interesting traditional dev coder topics integrated with Power Platform. And as someone who is a traditional dev who now works on Power, I bet you found a whole bunch of stuff that was pretty interesting and enlightening in terms of how people put these sessions together.
Yeah, I would say what I've been most impressed by when I've jumped into the sessions today has been all the physical integration. Like I've seen stuff spinning, like robotic things.
Yeah.
I'd say when we thought low code, we didn't think physical world integration, which is awesome to see.
Yeah.
That's the power of code with Power Platform.
Did you see Samuel's IoT solution?
Yeah. I think so. I saw the one with the fans, and he was rushing to finish it before the end. Yeah.
Yep, that's the one. And it's amazing how creative devs can be when you give them a bunch of tools and say, make something cool. And devs will always find a way to make it possible. So
I say personally, that's what I love about working on the platform, because you never know what people can create. Far more creative than us. So.
Oh, far more creative than us. And that's why we need them to keep co-creating with us and giving us feedback on the work we're doing. So Seth and I are going to tap out for about half an hour and let Charles tell you what's on the roadmap, what we're looking for as a company, how we want to help you, and how exactly you can go about building Fusion dev teams. Over to you, Charles.
Thanks, Donna. Thanks, Seth. As Donna said, I'm Charles Lamanna, Corporate Vice President for Low Code Platforms at Microsoft. I'm really focused on Power Apps, Power Automate AI Builder. That's been everything I've lived, slept on, ate, thought about for the last few years. And I'm super excited for the conference today because when we talk about Power Platform, which we've been doing for a few years now, we usually focus a lot more on the Office 365, Dynamics 365 integration. But what we're really highlighting today is how we support Azure and custom standalone applications. And in particular, we support professional developers. And this has kind of been something in the backdrop for a while, but we've really gotten very serious and focused on making sure that we enable professional developers to use these tools to go a heck of a lot faster. And if you look at the mission for Power Platform, like what it is at the core that we do, it's about empowering every single developer in the world to do more. And when we talk about developer, we don't just mean citizen developers or business users or IT developers, but also professional developers, people who like to write code, people who like to drop into Visual Studio, use Azure services and things like that. Whether you want no code, low code, or you want to be code first, all are supported, all are encouraged, and all want to be enabled with the Power Platform. And this is really key because it's a broad trend we're seeing in the market right now. Gartner projects that 65% of enterprise application development will be done with low-code tools in 2024, so just 4 years from now. It's a big sea change, and it's a big different way of thinking about how you go create solutions when you're working inside an enterprise. And at Microsoft, it's not just about Power Platform or Azure or Visual Studio. It's always it's always additive. And kind of this is a diagram that we every single week and every single month when we ship new updates make more and more true, which is the idea of professional developers and Power Platform have no limits. And if you look at how you can use Power Platform together with Azure services like cognitive services, machine learning, Azure functions, or Azure data services like Azure Data Lake or Azure SQL or Cosmos DB, you get this full stack to go build end-to-end solutions entirely in an integrated environment, integrated cloud, all backed by Azure Active Directory. And of course, Visual Studio, VS Code, GitHub, tons of great integration. And for this session, since I was at the end, I was thinking, what could I talk about that's different that you haven't seen already today? So we're actually doing something a little bit abnormal, and we're going to be talking about the roadmap for the next 6 months for the Power Platform, and with a particular focus on what that means for developers. And for folks that have worked with us before, We basically never do this. We basically never share this type of information publicly and broadly before it comes. There are some surprises that we're saving for Inspire and Ignite, but I want to kind of go through all the big building blocks that we're focused on and show some screenshots and some roadmap and some GIFs of where we're heading overall with the platform. And if you look at what has our focus been for 2020 on the Power Platform team, it's really 6 big focus areas. The first is to go expand the building blocks of Power Platform, fill out the gaps that you need. We did RPA, we did Power Virtual Agent, lots of new additions there over the last 9 months. Number 2 is really focus on creating the remote work platform between teams and the Power Platform. Number 3 is ensure that Power Platform no cliffs extensibility through Azure works great and it's just a fantastic end-to-end experience. Number 4, make sure we have Power Platform integration, Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate, whichever one you choose, they work well together to build a single solution. Number 5, enable the big enterprise adoption, things like application lifecycle management, things like DevOps and source control, as well as security. So you can really lean into Power Platform to empower every developer at the company where you work. And last, number 6 is pretty easy and hopefully always true for any product, just make everything better, faster, more reliable, more regions, more languages, things like that. And when we talk about extending the building blocks, the one I really want to call out is what we're doing in the mixed reality maps and spatial awareness space. So we announced some new map controls as well as some mixed reality capabilities that you can use right inside of Power Apps, but that's just the beginning. We're going to keep adding new abilities like geocoding, advanced address search, address validation, as well as better visualization and integration of 3D assets inside of mobile applications with Power Apps. And that's what we're going to be focused on in a big way over the next 6 months. And this is really about our focus about basically digitizing or digitally representing the physical world. That's kind of why that IoT example was so exciting to me earlier, because we really think this is something that's increasingly important for all of our customers. And that's kind of a big, bulky improvement we're going to do. For the Teams integration, when we talk about being the remote work platform, basically this is just responding to the world has changed a lot in the last 3 or 4 months. Modern work is increasingly remote. I've now been working from home for 3.5, 4 months or something like that at Microsoft. There's a lot of people like that around the globe. And Teams has grown incredibly rapidly, and customers are increasingly using it almost as their operating system for remote work. So we really want to make it amazing and easy to use a Power Platform inside of Teams. And I'm going to share some of the updates that we have planned later this year, and we have a bunch more that I'm saving for next week at Inspire. But we're going to go support same theming, same visuals, same controls that you know in Teams with Power Apps. So when you go build a Power App that you host inside of Teams, it can show up just as a tab inside of a team or a channel, as well as a personal app. And it will look and feel like everything else in Teams without you having to go build your own code or use your own CSS or do your own styling. And this makes it really possible to go build incredibly native, intuitive experiences to help people collaborate on Teams without having to be a coder. And this is kind of one of those really exciting things that isn't obvious, but like in this example, this is an app that we actually use within Microsoft for managing the COVID response, the crisis communications app, and it looks a heck of a lot better with this new theming. Additionally, a big thing we hear from customers is improving the mobile experience for Power Apps hosted in Teams on mobile. And the frontline workers and first-line workers that are out there want the ability to easily discover and install Power Apps inside of Teams, and want to go leverage rich device capabilities from their Teams mobile app. And of course, you don't want to compromise on device capabilities. Camera, GPS, microphone, calling, you want all of that to just work inside of Teams with Power Apps. And we're going to make sure all of that gets enabled later this summer. So a really native mobile experience, responsive layout of a Power App that also has great device capabilities integrated. And for the, I'd say, IT admins or security folks listening in, this is probably for you, but we're also going to make a great integration for Power Apps that are built to show up inside the Teams Admin Center. That way you can discover all the Power Apps that are deployed, understand their usage, do governance actions, do approvals, and also have integrated workflows around access management or publishing new personal apps that people build, all inside of the Teams Admin Center that people already know. And what's great about this is all the dev stuff that we've seen today that will work in Power Apps inside of Teams. And we're hearing from our customers, they want to bring more and more apps to their employees and their users inside of Teams. And this is just another great way to go do that. And almost the way we look at it inside of the Power Platform team is just like mobile or web are two destinations to build apps for. Teams is the next third destination to go build your applications moving forward. So a lot of big improvements announced here and a bunch more coming next week during our Inspire conference to talk about. For number 3, that's all about Power Platform and no-cliffs extensibility. And the idea here is just make it much easier to use Visual Studio, VS Code, GitHub, Azure together with your Power Platform deployments. And if we look at one of the big things that we're focused on, it's our GitHub integration. Because what we keep hearing from our customers is they want to go basically integrate their DevOps and CI/CD pipeline between Power Platform as well as with their Azure and other resources. And we've done this in the past with Azure DevOps, where we published a bunch of build tasks and build commands. We're going to bring those same capabilities, those same type of actions to create environments, generate solutions, run solution checker, PCF build and compile. All those same capabilities will be integrated inside of GitHub. And what we're hoping, particularly in the case for some of our open standards and open libraries like the PCF or Power Apps Component Framework or Power BI Visuals, this can also help. This will make it easier to start create ecosystems and open source community around all these different controls. And so I think this is going to be a really exciting thing where you can discover all these pro dev components in GitHub and start to build and publish and compile using all the dev tools that you already know and love. This one isn't quite new, but it's by far my favorite one, so I always talk about it. But we also have preview for a T-SQL endpoint on top of the Common Data Service. So it's now possible to use SQL Server Management Studio to connect to the Common Data Service. You can run select statements, joins, havings, group bys, fairly complex queries and statements. And all the configuration you do in a low-code environment with the Common Data Service just works. So all of your entities just show up as a SQL table. All of your fields in CDS just show up as columns. They actually have the same types and all this other great stuff. And what's neat is that we've implemented it in a way where it's connected end to end so that you're still running all the customization around security, business rules, filtering, access, permissions, and so on, right via the SQL endpoint. And it's because you're not connecting directly to our SQL database on the back end. You're still connecting to our API front end. We just do all the translations to go wire it up inside of the SQL endpoint. And all the time, this is getting better and better. And the goal is to ultimately support more advanced things like inserts and updates. But we're just focused on making read-only work flawlessly at scale right now. And I know for devs, this is a great way to use the SDKs you already know to go query and read and fetch data and do reporting on top of the Common Data Service. Which is, I know, a big concern for a lot of devs we work with, is they hate giving up that level of control when they use a backend like CDS. You don't have to do that anymore. Another great one, and I know I saw when I joined earlier, I saw a great demo of this in action, the custom connectors capabilities inside Power Platform. So you can go register, whether it's an Azure Function or Azure API Management or Azure Logic Apps, you can go register those endpoints as a custom connector, so they just show up inside a Power Platform. And what's great is this is one of the best ways for those fusion teams that Donna was talking about to show up, because what's possible is the professional developers can stay focused on building the APIs and logic in Azure and GitHub and Visual Studio. They can publish those APIs and logic as a custom connector. Then the citizen developers can start to leverage the custom connectors using the same low-code, no-code experiences in Power Apps and Power Automate that work with all the out-of-the-box connectors. And this kind of combination of pro devs and citizen devs working together is one of the most exciting and different things that the Power Platform enables. Because it's the whole idea, again, is we want everyone to participate in development. It's not just for coders anymore. Doesn't mean coders are any less important, but just means that coders can start to work with business users and they can all develop the same solution together. And to make this improved over the next 6 months, there's a lot of investments we're doing around better API management integration, Open API v3 support, and deeper authentication flows. And I have 5 of the different ones that we're focused on right now, building out by October of this year. Open API v3 is one of the big ones. We hear that a lot. That's the default in Visual Studio and Swashbuckle these days. That's what people look for in Azure API Management. So we're going to add native support for OpenAPI v3. We have VS platform extensions, so you can easily wire up the command line interface or CLI to do build tasks and publishing. We're going to have an out-of-the-box Azure Function connector, so you can easily discover and integrate the APIs and logic you use Azure Functions. We're going to make it so that there's great documentation, and of course, we're going to have learning paths on MS Learn, so you can see all this wired up end-to-end. For folks that have gone through the whole conference today, it will capture the same type of ideas and just make it easier to get started and deliver tons of really exciting pro dev business user integration through the custom connector. And the custom connector really acts as that bridge between the different types of users. And just again, those creation of those fusion teams is one of the most transformative elements that we started to see inside the Power Platform. Additionally, there's a lot of deep Azure portal integration. So you can now create a Power App over any Azure SQL database, and that's an experience we keep improving every month, basically constantly shipping updates to. Similarly, Power BI has great integration with Azure Synapse Analytics. And the fact that you're starting to see Power Platform reach and connect to Azure, and Azure reach and start to connect to Power Platform really highlights this idea that they're better together, that devs and Power Platform are better together. And that's a big area we keep pushing on, and that's a place throughout the products we're going to make easier and easier to connect all the time. And I'd say I love if we're missing a feature or we're missing some of this roadmap that you want, just send me a tweet or shoot me a message. We'd love to hear it, because I mean we choose what to build based on what we hear from the community, and there's just a great, vibrant professional developer community growing around Power Platform right now. For the next one, number 4, the big focus is around Power Platform integration. So make sure that everything works better together. And if there's one thing that's really important to Power Platform, it's the common data service. That's the place to store your data. That's the place to manage all of your security and authentication and authorization, and make sure that your data can be shared and standardized and reused across your company. But you also can still govern it and control it without having to worry about a whole bunch of other, I say, complex security policies. And what you can now do with the common data service is direct query. So you can actually, and this is something we announced in the preview during MBAS and is going to go GA later this year. You'll be able to actually wire up the common data service behind Power BI desktop or in the Power BI reports and get real-time views of all of your different data. If writes go through to your common data service, it can just refresh instantly inside of Power BI. And it happens all with security. So if you spend a whole bunch of time creating CDS roles, if you've done it, you know what I'm talking about. It's a lot of effort. But if you've done that, those are honored in the Power BI reports that connect to the common data service. And this just makes it really easy to go start to report and visualize, understand all the great data you capture inside the common data service. And of course, one of the benefits of using a platform like CDS is that we manage a bunch of the hard stuff for you automatically. So we have things like read replicas, which will route read queries to, so that you don't overload the main transactional store. So a lot of really strong connectivity there. And what I'd add is it also understands the metadata model for the common data service. So you can easily discover all of your entities, all of your tables, all of your fields, as well as the relationships inside of Power BI. You no longer have to worry about mapping the GUIDs of option sets and things like that. People have had to live through that. That just works out of the box just by pointing to your CDS instance. And today you do that actually via a SQL, the SQL connector inside of Power BI. You use that same T-SQL endpoint I talked about earlier. But if we go look to the future, we're going to have a more native first-class CDS environment discovery and authentication and authorization flow inside of Power BI. And just again, CDS acts as the center of a lot of these stories. You can build your Power Apps around it. You can build Power BI reports on it. You can use Power Automate to trigger events. Power Virtual Agent can expose the data. But you can also do it, build something in Xamarin or build something in a web app and call the Common Data Service APIs and get that same data and show it up in your pro dev workloads. And that's one of the things that we see a lot of customers do. In fact, about 25% of the usage, or I think 25% of the usage for Common Data Service is just people who are building dev workloads calling the Common Data Service APIs. So it's a really common way to go get more value from that data. For number 5, in terms of where we're going, I'm going to share kind of This next one is our entire adoption blocker roadmap for governance for the rest of 2020. So there's a lot of forward-looking stuff here that we're working towards. Things like deeper and more granular connector management based on endpoints, particular actions, blocking connectors outright, understanding the directionality of data flow with connectors. This is all about that powerful controls. And this, if you're a developer, you're used to kind of having a lot of power. You can do a lot of damage if you, say, mismanage or don't secure your data you store, say, in Azure. But when you go build those Fusion teams with citizen developers, you want to make sure that the citizen developers leverage the data in a way that's safe and secure. And that's where that powerful controls is really important. For the second one, around intuitive experience, that's about making the policies easier to visualize, report on, and manage, and make sure that you can actually support the right level of hierarchy and groups and sharing of all the different policies that you create. And this is important because as companies get really large and they actually look to leverage a whole bunch of Power Platform, a whole bunch of developer resources, you want to make sure you can go build the scalable policies that are required for a big company. And with something around like 97% of the Fortune 500 using Power Platform these days, this is really key. These are big companies that have to go work through and manage how you can enable citizen developers at a massive scale. For number 3, it's all about better fundamentals, so better audit logs around management or admin changes or governance policies that you can configure in the default environment, as well as detecting and reporting on HTTP actions or UI flow actions in the case of Power Automate, all inside the existing constructs we have. And lastly, this one's a little more forward-looking, so this is my 6 to 12 months. But this is the Microsoft Information Protection readiness and integration. So Office data, SQL data, which already support MIP, will be able to be integrated and leveraged inside of the Power Platform. So if you go secure data at its source, it will flow with that data as it moves through the Power Platform. And all of this makes it very easy to configure and secure your data once and have it show up safely in lots of different places. And when we talk about all these different policies together, it's all about enabling the other side of what you're doing as professional developers, right? If you go build those Fusion teams, this isn't to go govern and control what a pro dev does. This is to go govern and control, say, how citizen devs can use all the great assets you create as a professional developer. And you can do that in a secure and safe way without having to worry about the security risk. For number 6, pretty easy, pretty basic, so I'll just skip right by it, but it's about making everything just run faster, higher quality, better resiliency. And so across these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 areas, this is where we're going with the Power Platform. And we know, I mean, things can change a little bit. There's some flexibility always as we go work through our planning and roadmap, respond to new customer demands and things like that. But this is really how we're grounding our investment areas. And I know for folks that are new or been in the Power Platform journey for a while, what's super exciting is just how many updates and improvements we ship all the time. Hundreds upon hundreds of updates every month across the board, thousands upon thousands of them every major April and October moment. Just a lot of innovation. Always, it certainly keeps the platform fresh, but we're doing that to go respond to the feedback and demand from our customers. And speaking of customers, I thought it'd be great to really kind of finish off the session by talking about a great example of a powerful dev in action in Kobe City, Japan. And kind of if I go look at this, I really like it because it's we've got a very global conference here, and it's just amazing to see how Power Platform is used all over the world by developers. So in the case of Kobe City, a developer, Tsuyoshi, who actually went and used the Power Platform to very quickly respond to the COVID crisis. And they were able to go use the like free offers and rapid sign up and things like that exist. But even more importantly, able to go in just a matter of days, get a prototype in a matter of weeks, go to production with an end-to-end solution to help the city respond to the COVID crisis. And what's important for something like this situation and many others that people are struggling with is just that the world is changing at a pretty remarkable pace right now. Things that we have never seen before or haven't seen in 100 years are happening by the month. So being able to respond to all the different demands with a low-code solution is a really key part of being a professional developer that's ready for an environment like this. We can't spend 6 months building a solution anymore. We have to be able to respond quickly. And you do that by combining Azure and Visual Studio and VS Code together with the Power Platform. And just to kind of show how these experiences look, there's three main components to it and what they did at Kobe City. The first is a cash payment application management solution, which helps manage payments and disbursements and stimulus that's distributed to the citizens of the city of Kobe. And this is how you can go track special cash payments or applications or their status. And this is something actually built as a Power App portal that works on mobile devices, so that's a responsive view of the portal, as well as, of course, on web and in the browser. And this is all built on top of the Common Data Service for its data. And that's a great way to go reach people to go manage that cache management. But just like every developer project, new requirements come all the time. And basically, Kobe City wanted to go add a response chatbot to answer questions, help guidance around COVID-19 response. And all of that was wired up, again, on top of the same Common Data Service, the same environment, and integrated with other Azure services to make it very easy to engage citizens in a way that makes the most sense for them. And you can see that can be through SMS or other channels beyond just embedding a web widget. So the chatbot really helps with those frequently asked questions, keeps support volume down, which is a really important goal for the city. And then lastly, all this information is captured and gathered and reported on inside the Common Data Service. So it's possible to easily build a Power BI report to understand the number of questions, the number of disbursements, number of payments, as well as how the response is faring for the city. And all of this can be built in just a matter of weeks across chatbots, across web portals, mobile and web, and data reporting by mixing and matching other pro dev tools together with the Power Platform. And really, there's a lot of great stories out there. And I really say, like, for folks that are listening in, I'd want to finish with a challenge, right? I'd say nothing fancy, no fancy marketing speak. Just go try this thing out. And I know there's a lot of listeners, probably most of them, that have tried some part of the Power Platform out. But my call to action would be try a different part of the Power Platform. So if you're great with Power Apps and Power Automate, give Power BI a try. If you're great with Power BI, give Power Virtual Agents a try. They actually build off each other very naturally. Same types of connectors, same type of security, same types of application lifecycle management. And it fills out to build a pretty impressive solution in a very short period of time. So with that, that's kind of all I prepared for content. I want to say thank you for everybody that listened in. Thank you to everybody that listened for the whole day. A lot of great details, a lot of great information. And it's always impressive. And just thank you to the community for being such great, I'd say, members and citizens of the Power Platform group and community. So thanks again. And with that, I'll kick it back over to Donna and Seth.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thank you, Charles, so much for joining us. You know what I really like about Charles in general? The fact that he's always sharing things he shouldn't be sharing with the community.
I know. I was like, wait a minute. Is that
is that a roadmap?
Is that a roadmap?
Yeah, I do. I love this. I love this because first, devs love knowing things early because we need to get prepared for what the upper management's going to ask us for, right, in 6 months. So we need to prepare. We need to say we need to learn these skills. We need to go get this bits of sample code. We need to build these things so that by the time upper management realizes this is a thing and it's released, we look really smart and we're like, yeah, sure, whatever. I built this like 4 months ago. So
absolutely. I mean, and
that.
The cool thing is that it was a good sort of walkthrough of all the stuffs that we've kind of seen a little bit. And I like the call to action. It was basically, and I'm going to go in there. I'm going to do what he said. Go to aka.ms low code.
Okay.
What do we got here? Boom.
There you go.
Power Platform documentation. Go in there. He said if there's one that you've already tried, love it. Maybe try another one. And maybe we should take that to heart and you and I maybe look at some of this stuff.
I think so. I think, I've gotten very used to looking at Power Apps and Power Virtual Agents. Maybe it's time I look more closely at, say, CDS and Power Automate. What are you going to look at?
And maybe, I mean, we have the hashtag here, Powerful Devs. If there's one that you suggest that we take on, maybe let us know. Like, go to hashtag Powerful Devs, be like, Seth, you need to look at the, Donna, you need to look at the,
Yep.
Although those aren't real words, I just made them up. So that you can fill it in however you like.
So I have homework for the audience. Of course I have homework. Here is what I'd like everyone to do. All right, I would like you to look at all of the sessions from today, whether you saw it in real time or you're watching this in video. afterwards. Oh, by the way, all of these videos will be up on our channel, our new show, Powerful Devs the show, our new Channel 9 page within like 48 hours-ish. So keep an eye on our Twitterverses because hopefully we can tweet in 48 hours. We will see. But all of these videos will be sliced and diced and up on the show page so you can check them out. So watch them and implement one of the demos. Just try it out because the speakers show you how to do it. So implement one of the demos, get in touch with them if you need help, and send me a tweet when you do, because I would love to hear what you're going to do with this in your life and job. And we would, of course, love to have you on as a guest on our Powerful Dev show, because there's nothing we want more than our community members. Because like me and Seth and Brady and Greg being guests are not very interesting. It's all of you who make the platform and all of our dev tools actually important.
The only thing I would change about what this awesome person said is tweet at me too.
Okay,
I
tweet at Seth.
It sounds like it's cool stuff.
That's true. He wants to see it too. And after this whole day, Seth is like, I'm gonna go build some Power Apps and see what the hype is all about.
That is correct. Like I'm literally excited. Like I know some of us devy people are like, "But I gotta write it myself." And you know what? Sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't. And it's probably better when you don't to not. That's grandpa wisdom there.
Grandpa
I'm gonna say
wisdom.
it again. Now I don't even know what I said.
He doesn't know what he said. No.
What's going on here? If you don't have to, don't do it.
A line of code not written is a line of code not having to maintain. Yay.
Oh, maybe we should come up with these pithy one-liners.
I know, and make stickers. Yeah.
If you write it, then you supplied it. No. I think that's if you denied it.
Wow. Okay, anyway, so thank you so much for being with us all day today. Thank you to all of our speakers. Thank you to Scott, Maria, and Charles for doing these inspirational keynotes. We have so enjoyed having all of you with us on Twitter, on Dev2, and all of these places. We have never had a conference of this kind at Microsoft, and we sure as heck have never put on a conference with 4 people along with our giant community of speakers. So thank you. We appreciate you so much. You can find us on Twitter as always. Thank you. Have a good day, morning, evening, night. Powerful devs, y'all. Bye.
Take care.